Hey guys, MCU Collector here with another figure review. Next up is the Hasbro Marvel Legends series Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania Cassie Lang Build-A-Figure. Here we have Hope Van Dyne, the Wasp. And this is actually a pretty good figure. I'm kind of digging it. The previous Wasp figure was okay. Looking back on it though, I'm like, ugh, yeah. I mean, there could have been so many other things a little bit better. But this one's pretty good. I do have a little bit of a QC paint chip issue on mine, but other than that, not bad. I was a little surprised to see that she actually has single jointed elbows. I'm not sure if I ever caught that when the figure was first revealed and announced, but she has single jointed elbows. They are deep cut elbows though, so you get a really good bend, but not double jointed, which I still wish they would have been. But unfortunately they're not. But again, you get a lot of range of motion in there. The head sculpts are really good. The helmeted head has the same thing going on with Cassie's helmet. So it's like Cassie's is very similar to the Wasp's, where they have that flat back portion, which is just very odd to me. But it looks really good, and you get the translucent yellow plastic for the lenses on the helmet, which is pretty cool. Hope comes with an additional pair of hands, so she has two open hands here. Out of the package, the figure has fists. She does come with the unmasked or unhelmeted head on there. The wings down was on there, but I switched out and put the wings on version. That is the same exact piece that comes with the Ant-Man and the Wasp figure. Slightly different paint, a little bit more translucent wings, things like that. But it's actually the same piece, which isn't that big of a deal. Here we have the right leg to the Cassie Lang Build-A-Figure, which is looking really good. The chucks on there, you got a little bit of nice detail, so that is pretty cool. So I'm excited to build Cassie when we get around to all the pieces. Looking at the package, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, we get all the figures in the wave to build Cassie. So you can see the Wasp again comes with the right leg. We get an Avengers A logo there. I'm not sure why an Avengers logo. Artwork of the Wasp on the side, and then the back of the package you can see everything that she comes with. So you guys know, and I always say this in the videos, and everyone still asks, where did you get it? How did you get it? These aren't in stores yet. Entertainment Earth, if you pre-ordered, they were able to ship some cases out to folks. Right now, it still lists on the website as pre-order. That means they did not get enough to cover everyone's order, so it is listed as a pre-order. That's why it's not in stock. Last I checked, Egghead, Crossfire, and Future Ant-Man were in stock, still in stock. Ultron was not at any point. King was not. Ant-Man was not. Wasp was not. But those other three comic figures were, and you guys could check it out. But if you're looking to pre-order, I'll still have some links down in the video description below. But let's get in for a better, closer look at Hope Van Dyne's Wasp. Because again, this head sculpt is really good. And one thing about the previous one that I always thought was that this was one of the best that Marvel Legends had done, was this Evangeline Lilly, Hope Van Dyne. But now, looking at the two side by side, I'm like, damn, it's not very good. Like, it still holds up. It's still really good. At the time, I just thought it was, like, perfect. But now, looking at this one's damn near perfect. It is really, really good. So let's get in for a closer look. Okay, so here we go. Look at that Hope Van Dyne unhelmeted head sculpt. And it looks really, really good. The short hair, they got down. But man, look at that head sculpt. The paint apps, the digital face print came out really nice. Again, here's the older one. I thought this was a really, really good Evangeline Lilly likeness. But man, there's like no comparison with this older one to this newer one now. It just doesn't even really look like her at all. Whereas this new one really does. I think it came out fantastic. So I had mentioned a QC paint chip issue. If you look right here on the upper torso, looks like it's missing a little bit of paint there, or it's just a little bit whiter than the missing paint there. To me, that looks like a QC issue, but maybe it's just because it's not completely symmetrical. I'm not sure, but that looks like a paint chip to me. Looking at the rest of the figure, the yellow comes off a little dull because the yellow is on top of a black plastic, so it kind of bleeds through a little bit. It's not terrible, but a brighter yellow or another layer of yellow paint I think would have gone a long way in some of those areas, unfortunately. But it looks pretty good. We get this bright blue here on the leg, a little bit on the torso, and then you get some of that on the arms. There, a little tiny bit of red there, but all looks really good. We actually get blue paint there on the back of the figure. Then, this backpack piece for the wings, we can actually remove that, and you can see how it's keyed in, and it can port in, and then we have the wings down version here, which will just port in, and go on there like so. And that looks really, really good. Again, I think the head sculpt just came out really looking fantastic. Nice silver paint there on these gauntlet wrist pieces. Those look good. Yeah, I really like it. I think the paint and the design came out really nice. I actually like it a whole lot better than this previous version. The proportions of this previous version just look so odd now, you know, where this new one, it's like, okay, well, that's a lot more realistic looking, you know, in terms of, you know, the shape of the torso and everything. So it just came out really nice. I haven't really messed with the articulation yet to see what the range is going to be. I do not expect a whole lot, though, with the typical female Marvel Legends figures. They just don't get a lot of range. But let's go ahead and zoom out now so we can actually take a look at what we are dealing with in terms of articulation. Haha, I lied. Before at the articulation, we got to have the helmeted head sculpt on there, right? Looking at the translucent yellow plastic there, you can see the eyes behind there. That is really awesome how they did that. So let me pop this head off again. So just like Ant-Man, you can see there is that keyed in section there where they actually have like a little faceplate type of deal. That's how they get it to look, you know, realistic or whatever. And, you know, like there's a real face under there and it looks really good. Looking at the helmet, I like the helmet. It's a lot more black than I remember from the movie. I only did see it the one time. And I know there's been a lot of criticisms on, you know, how much Wasp was really in the movie. I thought she had a fair amount, and I thought she had some really key, important moments in the movie. But I get that, you know, there wasn't a whole lot of her in there. But I thought what they did was pretty good. I think there's probably a little bit too much black. You probably should have a little bit more silver in there, but I'd have to really go back and take a look. But the paint on the helmet looks really good. The translucent lenses came out looking really good. I just think the helmet flatness is just odd to me, but came out really nice. Now let's go ahead and see the articulation. Okay, so articulation, we'll actually take a look at the wings first, because the wings can go up and down like so. Yeah, that's the way it is. That's the top piece. So you can have the wings spread out this much here as I catch the Wasp, or you can have them together, you know, down this far or up that far, however you want to do it. They don't flat back and forth or anything, just the swivel up and down. So now looking at the Wasp, the head is on a dumbbell joint, so she can only do so much looking down. She can only do so much looking up, yeah, somewhat. Full rotation in that head, of course, and you do get some good pivot going on in there. The shoulder, you can get the shoulder to go straight on out, which is nice. You get a full rotation in there. No bicep swivel, unfortunately, because we get a single joint at the elbow, which actually includes a swivel. I know, single jointed elbow, it's like we go backwards on some things, so it's a little unfortunate. But look at that bend there at the elbow. You get way more than 90 degrees, so that is actually pretty good. It could be that a double jointed elbow would have just interfered with the design right there. I don't know. I still prefer double jointed elbows, but at least on this one, we do get a really good range of motion. The hands swivel and they do hinge. She's got some tiny ass hands though, so take a look at this as I zoom in. That hinge takes up most of the hand in there, so it's just kind of odd. I don't know if their hands are just severely undersized or what the deal is, so it's just kind of crazy. Let me swap that out and let me put on one of these open hands. The hinge doesn't, you know, take up as much space, so the hand looks much bigger when you have an open hand, and it probably looks a little bit odd when you compare it to how tiny like this fist is, but you know, it works out. It works out well. So the torso, she can tilt to her left that much. It's not a huge amount. She can tilt to her right that much. It's not a huge amount. She can go back actually a little bit, which is pretty good. And you can see they actually continued the deco on there with the paint, so that actually came out really nice. Coming forward though is essentially non-existent, so that is where it's tough. So you can, and depending on how you position it, maybe that much forward, but it's really nothing, and that's where it really lacks on Hasbro's part. They just can't seem to do the torso rocker, the diaphragm cut. They can't seem to get it right to where we get a nice range of motion going forward. There is the swivel at that diaphragm cut. Legs go out that far apart, which is really good. She can kick forward that far, not too shabby. Leg doesn't really go back. If anything, maybe a tiny, tiny bit. You get an upper thigh cut in there. Pinless double jointed knee. like so. No calf swivel or boot swivel on Wasp, but foot hinges all the way down. You get some hinge up, ankle pivot, peg holes at the bottom of the feet, closer to the toes, because she does have slightly wedged feet. They're not too bad though. They do give her enough stability and balance to where I haven't had any issues of really getting her to stand. As you can see, I know she kind of fell over earlier, but I really haven't had any issues, surprisingly, which is good, because a lot of times with other figures I end up having that problem where they just want to fall over naturally on their own, but I don't really have that problem with the Wasp. One thing I do want to show you guys now though is kind of the difference between the two wings. So let's go ahead and get in a little bit closer for them. So here is the newer wings, and then the older wings, as you could, whoops, it just fell right on off. The new wings, you can see they're not as translucent. There's a little bit heavier on the white plastic. And then we had that cheap looking silver plastic that I hate. It looks like they kind of improved on it to where they get a more of a silver color as opposed to just a bright gray cheap looking. This doesn't look as cheap, which is good, because I hate the way this one looks. So a little bit of improvement there, but again, they are the same exact wings, but just, you know, as they're a little bit more translucent, you can see the detail of the wings a lot more on there, which is really nice. So now let's go for some comparisons. Okay, so here we have the three movie figures together. We got King the Conqueror, Wasp, Hope Van Dyne, and Ant-Man, Scott Lang. I do want to apologize in my review of King the Conqueror. I kind of, said some things that would make, Jonathan Majors seem like he's guilty. It is innocent until proven guilty. But I have grown skeptical, because charges haven't been dropped. As everyone keeps saying charges were dropped. I haven't seen a single website that can confirm that the charges have officially been dropped, because they haven't. In fact, just today it came out that more people have come forward and gone to the New York District Attorney to also make formal complaints about Jonathan Majors. It's all unfortunate. And again, we don't know what really happened. I know that text messages were released saying, the victim, she had said, oh, it was my fault. I told him I didn't want to press charges and things like that. But again, the district attorney still has not dropped the charges against him. So it's all unfortunate. We don't know, is this a Johnny Depp situation where we jump to conclusions? Maybe. I know I definitely have gotten skeptical, and again, I am somewhat jumping to conclusions, and I am guilty of that, and that's my fault. So I want to apologize for those, that were offended, because they're right. We don't know the full story. We don't know everything yet. We need to wait for this to play out and see how things are going to go. It isn't looking good for Jonathan Majors though, as his management agency and stuff, they have dropped him. He's lost out on movie roles, endorsements, and things like that. So it's all unfortunate. So I just wanted to get that out of the way, because again, I did jump to conclusions, which is not fair. But anyway, back to the review. So here are the three figures. The Wasp looks awesome. They look great together. I'm really liking these movie figures. We unfortunately just have the three standard figures. We do have the Cassie Lang Build-A-Figure, which is going to be really nice once we can build that, and I'm getting very excited for that. But these three figures looking really good. King is again just really undersized, which is unfortunate. I wish he would have been larger. But that's the figure that we have. Wasp, I'm actually really happy with, and it's probably my favorite of the three now, which I never would have thought. King, I thought for sure was going to be my favorite. Ant-Man has definitely impressed me, and I like it a lot more than I really thought I would. But the Wasp is definitely my favorite figure of these three. But you guys let me know down in the comments below. What do you think of this Wasp figure? How do you like it compared to the previous one? I don't think it's very good anymore. Doesn't hold up in comparison. The Evangeline Lily Hope Van Dyne head sculpt is just absolutely fantastic. I love what Hasbro did. You guys give me your thoughts on that all down in the comments below. If you guys like this video, please do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. Hit that join button to become a channel member and be a part of the MCU collective. And as always, thank you for watching.